Most men chase money as if it were freedom. They do not see that money itself is the chain that binds or the weapon that rules. In this video, we will strip away illusions and reveal the laws by which money truly operates, laws the weak ignore and the powerful exploit. I have studied men, empires, and the hidden currents that move them. You must understand money is not wealth, it is leverage. It does not simply buy bread and shelter, it buys obedience, loyalty, silence, and betrayal. To ignore its rules is to be ruled by others who do not. The wise strategist does not worship money. He wields it as a blade, sharp enough to command respect, or ruthless enough to cut throats. In what follows, we will walk through 13 rules of money. Rules that separate the master from the servant, the ruler from the ruled. Most people believe money itself holds power. They cling to it, hoard it, and fear its absence. Yet money is nothing more than a shadow, paper, metal, or digits on a screen. It has no inherent force. Its weight lies only in the faith men place upon it. Ask yourself if tomorrow all men ceased to recognize the value of the currency in your pocket, what would remain? Nothing but paper and worthless numbers. The true substance is not money, but belief. And belief, unlike gold, can be shaped, bent, or destroyed. The rulers of history understood this. The Medici in Florence, the Caesars in Rome, the kings of France, all built empires on a fiction. Gold was never enough. It had to be believed to be powerful. When the people believed, armies marched, palaces rose, and crowns endured. When the illusion cracked, revolutions followed, and the same coins that once commanded obedience became useless relics. Do you see the danger? Do you see the opportunity? The average man imagines he must chase money endlessly, thinking that in the accumulation of currency he will find security. Yet he forgets money does not protect him. Only power does. A rich man without power is merely a fattened lamb waiting for the slaughter. A powerful man without riches still commands obedience, for he can seize what he needs. Look around you. Corporations print value out of nothing, turning invisible credit into towering empires. Politicians promise wealth that does not exist, and men cheer them into office. What is this but the manipulation of collective belief? And still, the common worker thinks his meager savings are his shield. He mistakes the illusion for the reality. If you were wise, you would ask, how do I control belief, rather than merely collect money? Consider the banker. He may have little physical gold in his vault, yet he lends 10 times more than he possesses. How? Because men believe he can repay. The illusion of solvency gives him true power, far greater than the man who stores coins under his mattress. The miser clings to substance. The strategist manipulates perception. This is why rulers rarely hoard visibly. They create trust or fear that grants their paper meaning. Power makes money real, not the other way around. Think of emperors debasing their coins with cheaper metals. Did the value vanish immediately? No. As long as subjects believed, commerce flowed. Only when suspicion grew did markets collapse. The lesson: money endures as long as the illusion is maintained, and the one who controls the illusion controls the wealth of nations. Now ask yourself, are you chasing coins or are you shaping belief? You may say, but I need money to survive. Yes, as all men do. But understand this: your survival is not guaranteed by your coins, but by the network of obedience, influence, and trust that money buys. Lose that network, and your riches dissolve into meaningless digits. Cultivate that network, and even when bankrupt, men will still feed you, clothe you, and follow you. History gives us countless examples. Consider Julius Caesar returning from campaigns, deep in debt. Did he tremble? No. He knew his soldiers' loyalty, purchased first with plunder, but cemented by his aura of authority, made him richer than the gold locked in Rome's vaults. Money served him only because he already held power. Without it, his creditors would have devoured him. With it, he rose to dictatorship. Contrast this with the merchants of Venice, drowning in wealth but lacking swords to defend themselves. Their riches painted targets on their backs, and only by buying alliances could they survive. They were prisoners of their own treasure, whereas Caesar, even in debt, commanded an empire. So I ask again, Which would you rather hold? Gold that others may steal, or power that forces them to offer you gold willingly? If you master nothing else, master this. Money is a mask. Beneath it lies power, naked and undeniable. Chase the mask, and you will remain a servant to appearances. Grasp the reality, and you can summon wealth at will, because men will give it freely to the one they cannot defy. This is why rulers understand illusions better than merchants. The merchant may trade in goods, but the ruler trades in belief, and belief is always stronger than metal. Remember, money does not operate by its weight or its shine. It operates by the fear of losing it, the desire to gain it, and the trust that others will honor it. These are not economic forces, but psychological ones. Whoever controls psychology controls the flow of wealth. And so, the first rule becomes clear: never mistake money for power. See through the illusion, and you will understand that power creates wealth, not the other way around. Now, let us move to the second law, where scarcity itself becomes the strategist's weapon. Scarcity. Few words command such silent terror in the hearts of men. The fear of not having enough drives nations to war, merchants to deception, and ordinary men to surrender their dignity. To understand the power of scarcity is to hold a leash around the throat of human desire. Ask yourself, when do men value water most? Not when rivers overflow, but when the well runs dry. What is taken for granted in abundance becomes sacred in scarcity, and the one who controls the flow controls the thirsty. History is littered with rulers who mastered this principle. Consider Joseph of Egypt. During years of famine, he stored grain while others feasted blindly. When hunger struck, the people returned to him not only with their coins, but with their lands, their herds, even their freedom. They exchanged their very selves for survival. Grain became gold. Scarcity became empire, or think of the merchants of Venice. They built their fortune not merely on trade, but on controlling choke points, sea routes, harbors, rare spices that could not be easily found elsewhere. Their wealth did not grow because they sold much, but because they restricted access. To own the key to scarcity is to dictate the price of abundance. Now reflect on your own life. When someone withholds attention, affection, or opportunity, do you not crave it more? The same applies to money, power, or influence. The less available something seems, the more feverishly men pursue it. You are not rational, you are bound by perception. And perception, my friend, can be engineered. Consider the realm of modern finance. Diamonds, for example. Nature provides them in greater abundance than you are led to believe. Yet clever merchants restricted their release, dripped them slowly into the market, and manufactured the illusion of rarity. Suddenly, stones that could have been common became priceless. Not by nature, but by manipulation. This is the lesson: scarcity is rarely natural. It is designed. Do you not see how rulers ration power in the same way? They never allow the people too much wealth, lest they grow arrogant, nor too little, lest they revolt. Instead, they maintain a careful hunger. Just enough to keep men striving, never enough to make them satisfied. That hunger becomes the engine of obedience. A wise strategist does not flood the market with generosity. He gives little, then takes it away. He offers glimpses, then withdraws. He stirs desire until men beg to pay, to serve, to kneel. For it is not abundance that compels loyalty, but scarcity. Think of emperors granting rare favors. A title here, a privilege there. The fewer the gifts, the more men clawed for them, even killing rivals to earn them. By making favors scarce, rulers ensured men would destroy each other for the smallest scrap. The throne gave almost nothing, yet received everything in return. Scarcity also breeds fear. When food runs low, riots erupt. When money tightens, people panic. Do you grasp the power of being the one who can release, or withhold, that which men dread losing? In times of famine, the one who owns a warehouse of grain commands more than the general with 1,000 swords. Fear of hunger is sharper than steel. But scarcity is not only material, it is psychological. Observe how leaders ration their presence. A king does not walk among peasants daily. He appears rarely, wrapped in ritual and distance, so that every glimpse feels sacred. Compare this with the fool who makes himself available to all, every hour, and thus loses all mystery. Scarcity of presence multiplies value. Do you see now why rulers often withhold even when they possess abundance? It is not stinginess, it is strategy. Abundance breeds complacency. Scarcity breeds dependence. The man who receives all he desires becomes arrogant. The man who receives only fragments becomes enslaved by hope. And here lies the cruelest truth: men love their captors when those captors control scarcity with precision. They curse deprivation, yet worship the one who ends it. Starve a man of recognition, then offer a drop of praise, and he will serve you with devotion. Starve a city of bread, then distribute crumbs, and the people will cheer you as savior. You must ask yourself in your life, are you the one consuming scarcity, or the one creating it? Do you chase what is withheld, or do you withhold to create hunger in others? The difference decides who is master and who is pawn. Scarcity is not absence. It is a deliberate weapon, and the hand that wields it rules. Now, let us move to the next law, where loyalty itself is revealed not as a gift of affection, but as a purchase paid in coin and controlled by need. Loyalty, a word men wrap in illusions of honor, friendship, and trust. Yet strip it bare, and you will see it is not built on love, but on need. Men do not serve out of pure devotion. They serve because their survival, their comfort, or their ambition demands it. And money, above all, is the leash that fastens their obedience. Do you think soldiers fight for a flag alone? They fight for wages, for spoils, for the promise of land once victory is won. When the gold stops flowing, their so-called loyalty evaporates. History is full of armies that turned on their masters the moment payment failed. Love may inspire words, but coin feeds action. Consider the mercenaries of Renaissance Italy. Cities hired them to wage wars, trusting their contracts to secure loyalty. But when a rival offered more, soldiers deserted without shame. Why? Because their loyalty was never to a banner, it was to their purse. Leaders who forgot this truth were overthrown by the very men who once bowed before them. Does this make loyalty worthless? No. It makes it predictable. And what is predictable can be controlled. Ask yourself, would you rather inspire love, unstable and fleeting, or bind men through dependency? Love is given freely today and withdrawn tomorrow. But the man who owes his livelihood to you, the man whose children eat because of your coin, that man will think twice before betraying you. Think of rulers who used this law with mastery. The Ottoman sultans built their janissaries not out of volunteers but out of captives, trained from youth, fed, and clothed entirely by the state. Their lives were bought, their loyalty engineered. Could they betray? Only at the cost of their very existence. This is the power of dependency disguised as loyalty. Or reflect on feudal lords. Vassals swore allegiance not from love of the lord's character, but because their land and income came directly from him. To betray their lord meant losing fields, homes, and survival itself. Loyalty was written not in the heart, but in the ledger. And in your world today, do you not see the same? Corporations preach about family and culture, yet loyalty remains tethered to salary, benefits, and promotions. Remove these, and the so-called family disbands overnight. Workers bow not to affection, but to necessity. This is why the wise strategist buys loyalty, not with one generous gift, but with continuous dependency. A man given too much at once may walk away, pockets full. A man given steadily, drop by drop, will never leave, for to leave is to starve. You must decide, do you want admiration or control? Consider the Roman generals who distributed spoils carefully after conquest. They gave their soldiers enough to bind them, but not so much that they grew independent. Each campaign promised more, each victory chained the soldiers closer. The generals knew loyalty bought once may fade, but loyalty tied to an endless stream of reward becomes unbreakable. Do not mistake this for cruelty. It is clarity to rule. You must see men as they are, not as they pretend to be. They speak of honor, but honor rarely fills the stomach. They speak of love, but love bends when the purse is empty. Money alone is not the source of loyalty. It is the medium through which need is managed. Now ask yourself, who depends on you? Who cannot survive without the resources you provide? If no one, then you command no true loyalty, for loyalty does not exist in the abstract. It is measured in dependency. But here lies the dark art to buy loyalty wisely. You must never give so much that dependency dies. Overpay and you free a man from need. Underpay and you invite rebellion. Balance is everything. The leash must be tight enough to hold, loose enough to disguise itself as freedom. Look at modern politics. Voters pledge loyalty not from love of speeches, from the promise of welfare, subsidies, or jobs. Leaders who feed their people just enough secure devotion. Leaders who fail to maintain this delicate balance are discarded without pity. The masses love only the hand that feeds them. So the question is not whether loyalty can be bought. It always is. The real question is, do you have the skill to maintain the purchase without bankrupting yourself or freeing your servants? This is the mark of true mastery. Remember this, loyalty paid in coin is loyalty bound in chains, and chains, when forged carefully, do not break easily. But beware, loyalty can be bought, and it can also be bought away. Which brings us to the next law, where wealth ceases to be an ornament and transforms into a weapon sharper than any blade. Wealth. Most men treat it as an ornament, a glittering display of success. They parade it in golden chains, shining cars, and palaces meant to impress. Yet this is folly, for wealth shown is wealth wasted. The wise do not display riches, they deploy them. Wealth is not decoration, it is a weapon. Ask yourself what use is gold if it merely sits in your vault or dangles from your neck. Does it make men fear you? Does it make them obey? Or does it make them envious, plotting in silence to strip it from you? To flaunt wealth is to paint a target on your chest. To weaponize it is to turn that same gold into an instrument of domination. History offers many examples. Consider the Borgias of Italy. They did not waste their fortunes on empty extravagance. They used them to buy alliances, silence enemies, and bribe cardinals until the papal throne itself bowed to their will. Their gold was not a trophy. It was a dagger, hidden in velvet, cutting deeper than any blade. Or think of the kings of France. They distributed wealth strategically, offering noble families just enough to keep them dependent, but never so much that they could rise in rebellion. Every coin spent was an investment in survival, every gift a chain disguised as generosity. That is the art of wealth as a weapon, to give in ways that tighten control, not weaken it. Contrast this with rulers who squandered riches on spectacle. The last kings of France built palaces of glass and mirrors while their people starved. Their wealth became ornament, provoking envy and rage instead of fear and obedience. And what happened? The people tore them down, proving that wealth without strategy is nothing but a gilded coffin. Now reflect on your own world. How many display wealth for applause? Social media overflows with men flashing cars, jewelry, and mansions. Do they inspire respect, or do they breed resentment? The wise do not shout their wealth. They whisper it into the right ears, buy the silence of enemies, and plant seeds of obligation. A secret payment can command more power than a mountain of public display. Ask yourself, are you using your wealth to bind others, or merely to entertain them? When wealth is wielded as a weapon, it becomes invisible. It operates not as a glittering show, but as a silent force that shifts loyalties, bends decisions, and creates opportunities where none existed. A bribe placed in the right hand can avert wars. A discreet investment can turn rivals into partners. A carefully timed gift can make a servant into a fanatic. But there is danger here. To use wealth as a weapon, you must master restraint. Spend too freely, and you weaken yourself. Spend too little, and you inspire contempt. The key lies in precision. To strike with wealth as a general strikes with arrows, not in wasteful volleys, but in decisive moments that pierce the heart. Think of Rome. Generals returning from conquest distributed spoils to soldiers not because they were generous, but because they understood loyalty could be sharpened like a blade. Those coins were weapons, buying allegiance, binding men to future campaigns, ensuring their swords would rise again at command. Now imagine you, in your own life. When you spend, do you think of wealth as a transaction or as a tactic? Do you buy luxuries to soothe your vanity, or do you buy influence, silence, and leverage? This is the line between weakness and strategy. The ornament dies with the man. The weapon reshapes the future. Remember this: every coin can be sharpened into a dagger. It can buy secrets, betrayals, or the destruction of rivals. The miser locks it away and dies with nothing but numbers. The fool flaunts it and becomes a victim of envy. The strategist turns each coin into a soldier, fighting battles silently while others admire their reflection in glass. Wealth is not meant to be seen. It is meant to be felt. In the obedience it commands, in the silence it purchases, in the doors it forces open. When you learn to use money this way, you will stop being a prisoner of appearances and become a master of outcomes. So ask yourself one final question: will you waste your wealth in ornament, or will you wield it as the weapon it was always meant to be? For in the next rule, we go deeper still, into the art of distribution itself, where wealth does not merely strike as a weapon, but flows like poison, measured drop by drop, binding men tighter than chains. Wealth is not merely gathered, it is moved, and in the movement lies power. The art of distribution is the secret most rulers understand and most subjects never see. For it is not what you possess, but how you release it, that determines who kneels and who dares to rebel. Ask yourself, when is wealth most dangerous? When it pools in one place. Water stagnant in a swamp breeds disease. Wealth hoarded breeds envy, resentment, and revolt. But wealth in motion, carefully directed, nourishes, pacifies, and enslaves. Look at Rome. The emperors who survived longest were not those who taxed without mercy, nor those who gave lavishly to all. They were those who distributed with precision. Bread and circuses, yes, but never so much bread that the people ceased to labor, and never so many games that they forgot who paid for them. The emperor's hand fed them just enough to remind them that without him, they starved. This is the essence of power: give too much, and men forget you. Give too little, and they rise against you. The ruler's art lies in balance, keeping men always hungry enough to obey, but never desperate enough to revolt. Consider the feudal lords of Europe. Their peasants toiled endlessly, yet the lord distributed portions of grain, protection, and small favors. He gave not out of kindness, but calculation. By controlling distribution, he controlled dependency. Every morsel the peasants ate was a reminder of their master's dominance. Or look at the Ottoman sultans. They distributed gifts to soldiers at carefully chosen moments, after victory or on holy days. Not daily, not freely. Each gift was timed to amplify loyalty, to create gratitude, and to remind the janissaries that their survival came from the sultan's hand. If he gave constantly, the gifts would lose meaning. If he gave rarely, discontent would spread. Precision was his weapon. Now think of modern politics. Governments distribute welfare, subsidies, or tax breaks. Do they give because of generosity, or because they understand that the flow of money directs the flow of loyalty? Remove the benefits and voters riot. Give too much and the state collapses. The politician who masters distribution rules longer than the one who hoards or the one who floods. But let us look deeper at the psychology. Men compare what they receive not to absolute need, but to what others receive. A soldier will feel loyalty if given slightly more than his comrade. A servant will feel hatred if he believes another servant is favored. Thus, distribution must not only be measured, but staged. It must appear fair, yet secretly divide. A divided people cannot unite against their master. Ask yourself in your own life, how do you distribute? Do you give freely to all, and thus earn little gratitude? Or do you reward selectively, making each gift seem rare, precious, unforgettable? Gratitude is not born from abundance. It is born from scarcity, strategically relieved at the right moment. There is also danger in generosity. A ruler who gives excessively weakens himself. The people become accustomed, then demanding, then resentful when the flow cannot be sustained. This is why wise rulers give with one hand and take with the other, creating an endless cycle where men feel both deprived and indebted at once. It is not wealth they crave, but the relief of suffering. Suffering you yourself control. History punishes those who forget this balance. Think of Louis XVI. He taxed harshly, then gave too little. The people rose, and his throne fell. Contrast him with Augustus, who distributed wealth so carefully that Rome endured in relative peace. Both had wealth. Only one understood distribution. So the question becomes, are you a hoarder, a squanderer, or a strategist? Do you keep your wealth locked away, useless and resented? Do you flaunt it, gaining applause today but enemies tomorrow? Or do you release it like a poison, measured drop by drop, creating dependency so subtle men mistake it for generosity? Understand this: money itself holds no loyalty, but its flow shapes men's hearts like rivers shape valleys. Control the flow, and you sculpt obedience. Lose control, and you drown. Do not seek to be loved for your generosity. Seek to be needed for your precision. For the man who depends on you cannot betray you without betraying himself. Now, let us move forward to the next law, where money reveals its final cruelty. It is not merely an illusion, a scarcity, or a leash, but a living current of power, and the one who dares to channel it bends entire nations to his will. Power does not thrive in the open. It thrives in silence, in shadows, in the subtle strings you pull while others believe they act freely. Control is strongest when it is invisible. Men resist chains they can see, but when they do not recognize the leash, they mistake obedience for choice. This is the essence of strategy: to bend wills without force, to command loyalty without asking, to shape outcomes while appearing absent. Most seek power loudly. The wise seek it quietly. Which path do you walk? Remember, wealth, loyalty, scarcity, illusion. These are not tools of commerce. They are tools of domination. Learn them, and you will not merely possess money. You will possess men. Now I turn to you. Tell me, how have you seen control disguised in your own life? Comment below with your thoughts. Subscribe for more strategies drawn from the cold truths of history, and share this video with those who still believe power is kindness. Let them learn what you now see.